Welcome to the video, everybody. We're going to have a quick look at the missing submarine which dived to view Titanic a few days ago. Many of you may have heard it has gone missing, lost contact 1 hour and 3/4 after the descent. The descent is 2 hours, so it basically lost contact very near the bottom of the ocean. Now, it's about 2.5 miles down, 12,500 feet, and that's just an incredible depth, incredible pressure, incredible weight of water down there. So check this little photo out first, just so everybody's got an idea of how deep we're looking at. Check out in particular the Shard in London. Many of you will be familiar with the Shard. You've been there, you've looked up at the Shard, you've been at the top of the Shard looking down. It is quite a high building. So look at the Shard on the photo. The Shard is the smallest building on the left-hand side, I believe, and then you can see the full scale of how deep the Titanic depth actually is. Check this out.
Hi, my name is Stockton Rush. I'm the CEO and founder of OceanGate. Let's take a look at Titan.
So everybody, you're going to now meet the owner of this vessel. He designed it as well. And check out the inside of this thing. It's a lot smaller than I thought it was going to be. And imagine you're in there with 4 to 5 other people for, what, days now? 2 miles under the ocean. Just imagine that when you're watching the inside of this thing right now.
So we're coming into the sub. This is the only toilet available on a deep diving submersible. Best seat in the house. You can look out the viewport. We put a privacy screen in, turn up the music, and it's very popular. We have our control screen here, our sonar screen here, and we can put any image we want in the back. We've taken a completely new approach to the sub design, and it's all run with this game controller and these touch screens. So if you want to...
Wait, did I hear that correctly? The machine is controlled with an Xbox controller. Really? And it's Bluetoothed. Okay, nothing wrong with Bluetooth. But we all know Bluetooth is unreliable for randomly not connecting, randomly disconnecting itself mid-activity. It happens to me all the time on my card machine. You know, it can work perfect 10 times and then the 11th time it just won't work. So it's a little bit of a novel feature. Personally, I wouldn't want to be in there when there's not really, by the look of it, much technology. I'm sure there is, but by the face of it, it's all very clean and pristine, but you've got an Xbox controller and you've got a couple of screens and that's it. Just doesn't seem very high-tech to me. It seems more like he's designed it the way that he likes it, and obviously he's the rich man, he's the billionaire, so he's the one that's going to have the final say. Anyway, check out the rest of it right now.
Go forward, you press forward. If you want to go back, you go back. Turn left, turn right, go down, go up. And it's Bluetooth, so I can hand it to anybody. And it's meant for a 16-year-old to throw it around, and super durable. We keep a couple of spares on board just in case. This is the second year we've been out to the Titanic. We went out in 5 8-day missions. We did about 10 dives to the wreck site of the Titanic, and we did an extra dive on an undiscovered reef that we found. Completely privately funded operation, and we're funded by, we call mission specialists who help support the mission. So they take quite a bit of money to come and join us. Years ago, the Russians took tourists out to the Titanic, and it was just sort of a look and see thing. We really are focusing on the science around it. We want to document what the wreck is like now, and also try to predict what it'll be like in the future.
It's a one of a kind, as Stockton Rush, the CEO and the inventor of the sub, puts it. Every submersible is a prototype. In other words, there is no spare. There was no version 1.0 before 2.0. This is it. It's a one of a kind. And as such, there were parts of it that seemed to me to be less sophisticated than I was guessing. You know, that you drive it with a PlayStation video controller, literally a Bluetooth wireless controller. Some of the ballasts are old rusty construction pipes. When they seal you in, and they do seal you in, by the way, with there are 18 bolts that seal you in from the outside, and they only do 17 of them because the 18th one is way up high, so they don't bother with it. So there were certain things that looked like cut corners, but Stockton made me aware that the part that we care about, where the people are, the pressure capsule, is very high end, designed in conjunction with NASA, the University of Washington, carbon fiber, 5 inches thick, unassailable.
David, you signed a very fat waiver before getting inside this thing. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the items on that waiver?
This is adventure travel. This is for adrenaline seekers, people who live on the edge, the kind of clientele that would take a Blue Origin rocket ride, for example.
So I don't know how you guys feel about that submarine there. I know it's been shown already, but personally, I wouldn't want to be on there at any depth. Obviously, these people are fanatics. They love the stuff. And the risk and the danger and that challenging environment is something that comes with it, and they accept that. And I accept that. There are people out there that take huge risks because it's what they do. And they wouldn't be able to have that excitement or that, that thrill without the risk, of course. So we understand that. But personally, now thinking about it, being in there for this amount of time, but when you know that the clock is ticking and you're going to be in there thinking to yourself, you're going to be all very well versed in how long you have left on the oxygen. It's going to be a big thing in there. Like, right, guys, we've got until this day at this time, right? And then in your head, you're going to be thinking about things like, we're 2 miles down. That's deep, Imagine 2 miles of driving. Imagine that down in a hole, water depth, and the amount of water on top of you. When you're down there, you're going to be very well aware of the amount of water on top of you and how quiet it is and how dark it is. And in itself, personally, that would set a lot of panic in, that you'd be thinking, flipping out, like, even if somebody comes to rescue you, somehow, they've got to get you up, and that's going to take time. 2 miles up. You've got to drag a vessel, which is probably quite heavy to drag in the water, against the water, up, and 2 miles up. That's a lot of effort. That's a lot of energy and a lot of effort for something, which they'll all be aware in there that not many things can do that, if anything can do that. So just put your mind into their mind that at the moment, mentally, will be very tough for them. And we really hope with all our hearts and everything that they're rescued safely. But just on the face of it, they must be having a really, really awful time in there. And thoughts go to the families as well, who must be going through hell at the moment, knowing full well what they're going through, and that they can't do much about it. They're making these SOS signals, possibly, hopefully it's them, but there's not much they can do. They can't get out. You could just say, well, get out and float to the top. Like, you can't do that at that depth. And they can't get out anyway. As you'll hear later in the video, the hatch is actually bolted shut from the outside. So you can't get out from the inside. You have to rely on other people when you get to the top of the water to unbolt the hatch and let you out, essentially. So there's not even an escape route. Again, not that it would be realistic at that depth at all. But anyway, keep watching, guys.
Before we went, we had never seen the sub. We didn't know anything about it. There's very little information on the website, just that it's a state-of-the-art, one-of-a-kind carbon fiber submersible. I didn't know at that point that you drive the thing with an Xbox game controller. I didn't know that the ballast was, used construction pipes. You get there, and then you start seeing this stuff, and now your mood crashes and you get a little worried. Like, is this the level of polish and sophistication we're talking about? And then you get the tour, and Stockton Rush, the designer of the sub, the CEO, explains to you that all of this stuff, the lights and the handles and the propellers, these are off-the-shelf parts because, well, not only are they inexpensive, but they're tried and true. They're mass-produced. So the part we care about is the pressure vessel, the capsule where the people are. And that he designed with NASA and the University of Washington. And that, he says, is as locked down as it gets. His exact words were, everything else can fail, the lights can go out, the propellers can stop, but you will still be alive.
You imagine being towed around something and you're looking at it thinking, I'm going to be 2 miles under the water in this thing, you know? And you get a feeling that a few things have been bodged on it. Not saying they have, but, you know, things could have maybe had more money spent on them and been more higher end perhaps. But we're talking about 2 miles of water. And to anybody watching that knows about water pressure, you know, when you're like 30 meters down, your ears and, well, your blood in your body has a huge problem with the pressure, and you can die from that. You can get air in your blood and you can die, even at 30 meters, right? Now we're talking about, I think, almost 4,000 meters, 3,000 odd meters down, right? That's a huge amount of water weight. If you imagine how heavy, like carrying a watering can full of like 10 litres of water is, right? Imagine that weight. Now when you're underwater, that weight is essentially pressing on your skin, your brain, your head. The submarine is obviously like, it's a circle shape, isn't it? It's like a tin can, right? If you put a tin can underwater, it will be crushed at very, very, very low depth, to be honest with you. Anyway, 2 miles down, they're talking 400 bar of pressure. Now in pressure, 400 bar. I mean, if you think about a car tyres support the weight of a car, right? And they're around 2.5 bar, right? Maybe 2 bar to 3 bar maximum, right? We're talking car tyres. Now they support the weight of a car, they support the weight of people in the car. And when you go around a corner and you know, all on the one side of the car, obviously that air pressure supports the car, right? So it must be pretty hard. So like, for example, 2 bar. 2 bar's a lot of pressure in terms of feeling it, right? 400 bar. It is unfathomable. Like, you just can't even think about that much pressure. Like, that much weight pressing down on a small tin can, right? Be it reinforced. So we're talking about a lot of pressure here. Anything fails down there and it's game over, basically. So we've really got to hope that there's still hope down there. There's still oxygen. That's the one thing they have, is oxygen. And like he said to that to the guy just, everything can fail, but the surrounding won't fail, right? Which is fine. But if you're stranded down there in the vessel, it's all very well being alive and you can't move or see anything. But when the oxygen runs out, you're going to die anyway. So, yeah.
So I will say that the night before, I was so panicked, which is very unlike me, that I did not sleep at all. I was completely trashed on the day of the dive. But once I was in the sub with Stockton and, you know, the scientists and the crews outside doing what they had rehearsed over and over, I felt okay. I felt excited. I felt like they wouldn't do this if it was really dangerous. I knew that during the first season, they had a situation where the people were locked inside the sub for 27 hours on the surface just because it was too wavy to pull them back onto the ship. And they were fine. Like, they played games, they played music, they went to sleep. They stayed in there for 27 hours. So I feel like, worst case, what's going to happen? We have an adventure that we tell our kids about. Yeah, you are bolted in from the outside. There are 18 bolts in a circle around the hatch. And by the way, they only fasten 17 of them. The 18th one is way up high, and they say there's really no mathematical difference. So you're right. The really nightmarish scenario is that they are alive at the surface, bobbing away, running out of air, and unable to get out. That's what he said. So the people who go on these expeditions are not tourists. I mean, I know a lot of your viewers are horrified by the concept of getting into an enclosed, bolted-in minivan 2.5 miles down, but it's not for you. It's for really rich adventurer people who live for Blue Origin rocket rides and volcanoes and swimming with sharks. It's for people who define their lives by risk. So it's really not meant to be a consumer tourist outfit. So in general, it's tragic, and I deeply feel for the families and the kids of these men. But I have to say, it comes with the life of a risk taker.
Just the thing, isn't it? It is the life of a risk taker. When things go wrong, they go badly wrong, you know. There are risks with everything. People may think they're stupid for going down there. Personally, yeah, I wouldn't go down there. But if that's their life goal, to go down there and view that, and the experience will change their life, who are we to say that they're stupid to go down there? But it's very sad that even with all the technology we have in this modern day, things still can go wrong. And when they go wrong, sometimes they go really wrong. Just the same as if you were 2 miles up in the sky and something goes wrong up there, you know, there's not a lot of options left other than quite bad ones. So, yeah, what this guy's saying makes a lot of sense. Let's just hope that the knocking noises they hear mean they're alive, and let's hope they find a way to get that vessel back up to the surface quite quickly.
I will say, and this is important, that the people on this company's tours who do get to the Titanic, to a person, say that it is life-changing, say that it is worth every nickel, say that there is a before and an after they saw the Titanic in person. So for these people who have the money, they can't imagine not doing it.